Imagine being told that the very lifestyle you're living could end your life, and ignoring it. For some of bodybuilding's biggest names, that tragic prediction became reality. From steroid overdoses to heart failure, the warnings were there, but they chose to push their bodies to the absolute limit. Ilia Golem.
My first meal, oats, 300 grams of oats, my pre-workout meal. Monk fruit sweetener, as you see, 0 calories.
What would drive a man to eat that much day after day? Meet Ilia Golem, a bodybuilder whose meals were as extreme as his physique. Sushi, steaks, pasta, you name it. He consumed them in mind-blowing quantities. But here's the question, was he fueling his body or was he slowly pushing it to the point of no return? Sushi might have seemed like a healthy choice packed with protein and omega-3s, but at what point does healthy turn into too much? Ilia devoured 36 pieces of sushi in one sitting. But the truth is, the amount of raw fish he was eating could be dangerous. Farmed salmon, which is often loaded with antibiotics and toxins, can harm the body in ways many don't realize. And with the mercury content in raw fish, it wasn't just a meal, it was a ticking time bomb.
I wonder how old this guy actually is. I was assuming late 40s, possibly 50, but a lot of times bodybuilders look very aged, more than vegans, because of the sickness. I wouldn't be surprised if he's way younger.
Then there was the steak. 3 pounds of rare, fatty beef in one sitting. Sure, red meat has protein, plenty of it. But did you know that eating that much red meat, especially at that frequency, drastically increases the risk of heart disease and cancer? Bodybuilders like Golem often thought they needed enormous amounts of protein to fuel their muscles. But in reality, the excess cholesterol and saturated fat could have been doing irreversible damage to his arteries. This is what happens inside the body. Over time, eating too much red meat leads to plaque buildup in the arteries. And once those arteries get blocked, it's a fast track to a heart attack or stroke. It's like watching a man charge full speed towards a wall. He's going to hit it, and the only question was when. And then there were the carbs. Golem rarely ate pasta, but when he did, it was enough to fill a family table. He piled on the spaghetti, believing it was necessary fuel for his workouts. But here's the problem. Carbohydrates, especially processed carbs like white pasta, cause insulin spikes.
It's funny that he said that he likes spaghetti, it's one of his favorite foods, but what is that? If you would eat it raw, there's no way that you would be able to eat it. So of course he adds the cheese, because that's what makes him want to maybe eat it. And then of course the sauce, and that even more. A typical peasant food, especially for Europeans, brainwashed drug addicts like this wouldn't die in their 40s and 50s if they would at least leave out all of the grains and the junk that they eat. Maybe they would live to 60, and of course they would still die early.
In the short term, this leads to energy crashes. In the long term, it could lead to insulin resistance and even type 2 diabetes. Bodybuilders like Golem often thought they could outwork their diet, burning off the excess calories in the gym. But no amount of exercise could reverse the damage done by consistently overloading the body with carbs, fats, and toxins.
You're not doing your body a favor, you're destroying it. Anybody who watches him and wants to be like him is severely mentally ill.
The body can only take so much before it starts to break down. Experts have predicted the fates of bodybuilders who follow this path. Many don't make it past their 40s or 50s. And just as this man predicted, Golem didn't make it to 40. He died at the young age of 36. While his muscles may have looked powerful on the outside, inside, Ilia Golem's body was fighting a losing battle. It's a battle many bodybuilders have fought, and many have lost. Piana.
Bottom, there's a very real possibility at his age, holding the amount of weight that he's holding, that it could kill him of a heart attack. It definitely will be during that final 4 weeks. His HDL good cholesterol will drop to nothing. That predisposes you massively to having a heart attack next week.
Piana was the poster child of extreme bodybuilding. His massive arms and hulking figure earned him fame and a cult-like following. But while fans admired his size, others, like fitness expert Jason Blaha, saw the danger. As Rich's muscles grew larger, so did the risks he was taking with his life. Rich was known for pushing the limits, but his use of anabolic steroids, specifically in his 40s, crossed a deadly line. Jason Blaha wasn't alone in his concern.
You just got married. You have a new wife. Don't do this to yourself, brother. It isn't necessary for you to probably run much more than a TRT dose to maintain your business.
But Rich didn't just ignore the warnings, he seemed to embrace the risk. With a combination of 3 grams of steroids a week and 12 straight weeks of toxic oral steroids, his body was being pushed to its breaking point. The liver damage, the heart strain, and the way the drugs shredded his good cholesterol, HDL, all led him down a dangerous path. And as Jason Blaha pointed out, it wasn't just the drugs, it was the timing. For someone in their 40s, the body simply can't handle that kind of abuse.
Cycle like Rich is running isn't safe for anyone at any age. Could it kill him? Yes, absolutely. And I really don't want to see Rich get hurt. I don't dislike Rich. I don't think of him as a bad person. HDL good cholesterol will drop to nothing. That predisposes you massively to having a heart attack next week.
Blaha's warning turned out to be terrifyingly accurate. Rich Piana died of heart complications in 2017 after collapsing at home. His heart, pushed beyond its limits by years of drug abuse and extreme bodybuilding, finally gave out. Despite the fame, the fortune, and the fans, Rich couldn't escape the deadly consequences of his choices. Boston Lloyd. Next up, Boston Lloyd, a bodybuilder famous for his brutal honesty about steroid use. He wasn't shy about detailing his extreme cycles to his followers, but as his dosages grew, so did the warnings. Competitors and experts alike saw disaster looming on the horizon. One fitness veteran told Boston plainly, "If you keep this up, you'll be dead by 30. But did Boston listen?
A needle that I'm going to use to inject it with. This is an 18 gauge syringe I used to draw. So you're going to put it in here. I'm going to draw 3 cc's. Half cc of Tren E100 and a half cc of Tren Hex 100.
Boston, much like Rich, was unapologetic about his drug use. He boasted about taking testosterone, Winstrol, and fat burners, often in doses that even professionals found excessive. At just 23 years old, he was already showing signs of serious damage. Yet, he continued. Doctors repeatedly warned Boston that his heart and liver were being strained beyond their limits. The abuse of steroids causes everything from high blood pressure to liver toxicity and heart enlargement, and Boston's case was no different. His heart was working harder and harder just to keep up with his extreme lifestyle. Yet, like so many before him, Boston believed he could beat the odds.
So, I don't really know what your goals are. 23 and you'll be dead by 30? Possibly time to start enjoying your life a bit, mate, all right?
And in the end, the predictions came true. Boston Lloyd died at the age of 29, just months before his 30th birthday. The combination of steroids and other drugs had ravaged his body, leaving his heart too weak to continue. Another life lost, despite all the warnings. Justin Rhee. Justin Rhee, also known as Big Kiwi, was once New Zealand's top bodybuilding champion. Standing at the peak of his career, his massive frame was envied by many. But behind the muscle was a growing danger, a heart that was working too hard for a body that was pushed far beyond its limits.
Here.
Well, I did do more cardio and things like that for my diet. So,
More cardio, what does that mean?
Because I've increased my cardio to sort of like
10 minutes?
hey, no.
By 38, Justin's body was a shadow of its former self. His heart, swollen from years of steroid abuse, was failing him. Diagnosed with dilated cardiomyopathy, Justin's heart had grown too large and weak to pump blood effectively. This condition, a direct result of his steroid use, caused multiple heart attacks, sometimes every few weeks. Even after numerous heart attacks, Justin couldn't give up his lifestyle. He suffered from muscle dysmorphia, also known as bigorexia, which made him believe he was still too small. His identity was tied to his body, and the idea of losing his muscle was unbearable, even as his life was slipping away.
Is a bodybuilding drug trafficker whose heart stops every 3 weeks. So pretty much he was having heart attacks almost every 3 weeks. This dude, right? You will see him. He can barely walk. He cannot talk. The doctor in that video says that his heart is huge. His heart got bigger, but it is diluted and it is basically floppy.
Doctors warned Justin repeatedly, but the obsession with maintaining his size had taken over. Despite losing his business, his friends, and almost his life, Justin refused to give up steroids. Even when he could barely walk, he was still trying to lift weights. It's a sad reflection of just how deep the addiction runs for bodybuilders.
You're clearly upset.
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't be?
You're seriously unwell at the moment. Are you still using steroids?
I lost 25 kgs of muscle.
Sick as Justin is, he still struggles to stay away from the weights. Justin is lifting 55 kilos. He used to be able to lift 130.
Tragically, Justin Rhee passed away on June 4, 2015, leaving behind a powerful lesson about the dangers of extreme bodybuilding. Bodybuilding, when taken to these extremes, isn't just about muscle. It's about risking your life, even when the warnings are clear. Ilia Golem, Piana, Boston Lloyd, and Justin Rhee were all warned. They had doctors, friends, and fitness experts telling them that their lifestyles would lead to an early grave. Yet they didn't listen. The sad truth is that these men could have lived longer, healthier lives if they had just listened. But the allure of bigger muscles, more strength, and a perfect body was too tempting. And now, they've paid the ultimate price. If there's one lesson to take away from their lives, it's this: listen to your body before it's too late. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more engaging content like this.